being until our guest comes in at 7:30. So I wanted to go in and talk about some things because we're going to be touching on John Brown. John Brown was an abolitionist leader. He was a radical abolitionist who believed in the use of armed insurrection to overthrow the institution of slavery. And we're going to talk about John Brown tonight. I have a feeling John Brown and Abraham Lincoln may be related. He was a Melungeon. So we're going to talk about this tonight and see where this goes, all right? So I want to kind of read because I'm going to go Facebook Live. So I'm going to read through this right now before we get started, just to start to give some meat to it. So when he comes on, I can know where to go, where he's really coming from. I might have to stop Facebook in order to put what's up here so you guys can hear it and read it in case I need to reread it for him. Islam. So Islam. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Can we all stand as we recite our Moorish American prayer? We turn to the east as going within. We put up 5 fingers on the left with 2 on the right with our heels touching one another. 2 on the right, 5 on the left. Heels touching one another standing on our square. Repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam. I want to give honors to the words of the prophet, to the divine constitution and bylaws, to the literature, giving all honors. Let me rise and give the highest praises to our Father God Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Also, Allah, the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life that breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. I would like to also rise giving high honors to our illustrious and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who introduced us to this message of love. Islam. I want to give honors to all the grand sheiks and sheiks throughout the movement, the grand sheikesses, grand governors, grand governoresses, all throughout the movement, all the heads of states, and just all of you that will be on here tonight in this amazing discussion that we will go in who John Brown was, how much what he meant to us as a nation, and also how he relates to Abraham Lincoln. And their fight was pretty much exactly the same. So even though they took our Abraham Lincoln out, they took John Brown out too, even though they were still fighting for the same exact thing, Islam. So we want to get into it because there could be some relations there. How we know? We don't know. We only know what they tell us, right? So Islam. So I'm gonna start reading before the guest comes in because I want to just get it, get us in a mood, in a vibe right now, right? So even though I know this will be recorded on StreamYard, we're gonna go like this. So talking about John Brown tonight and Abraham Lincoln and what are the correlations between the two. So, nationality and birthrights taken away from Moors. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by 1774, most of the Moorish armies were defeated. The European settlers did nothing to the Moors at first. They just studied them, the way they ate, lived, and acted. After being conquered and put into slavery, all history of the Moors and their teachings were collected by the Europeans and burned. In the year of 1779, at 6th and Chestnut Streets, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Moors were stripped of their names, nationality, and birthrights. Their national last names were Bey, dating back in ancient times to Abraham and Hagar, who were really Abraham El and Hagar Bey. Islam, Brother John, Islam.
Islam, sister. I had called earlier. I thought I was on waiting, but something occurred.
Yes, I was just reading to kind of get people up to speed before we start because I'm going to do a Facebook Live. So I may not be able to read from where you're going to be coming from. So I was just going to read it to them now to kind of get everyone up to speed. Then you could
All
come
right.
in and start.
Very
Islam?
good.
All right.
Islam.
Islam. In the year of 1779, in 6th and Chestnut Streets, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Moors were stripped of their names, nationality, and birthrights. Their national last names were Bey and Ill, dating back in ancient times to Abraham and Hagar, who were really Abraham Ill and Hagar Bey. Negro, black, and colored. The degrading names of Negro, black, and colored Ethiopians, Kun, Dark, and Shine, which had no connection with civilization, was put upon the Moors of the north of Northwest Africa, now the United States of America. The Moors were never to rise as a nation of proud people again, so said the governing Europeans at that time. They were put into slavery, bound in chains, and sold to European slave masters, who used them in the South, mostly on the plantation that grew cotton, sugar, tobacco, and rubber. The slave masters also used the slaves on the eastern waterfronts and the Mississippi River. They used them on any other job that needed manpower. The slave trains. A large percentage of the slaves were used in the South because of the plantations and the need for more manpower. The slaves were not brought to America from Africa as the European so called historians put it in their books. The truth is that the Moors living in the North were sold on the slave markets in the northern cities. After being sold, they were chained to each other and forced to march on the roads to the South. They were forced to march while the slave masters and their helpers rode horses, carrying guns and whips to keep the Moors from rebelling. Some of the slaves would make it on the long march, and some would not. The sisters with babies were made to carry them in sacks on their backs. The sisters expecting were made to walk, some losing their babies before they were even born. The number of slaves that were moved to the South was so great that the North was left with only a handful of Moors. Back history, the American Revolution, 1776 through 1783 AD. Brother John, would you like me to continue or would you like to speak on anything from right there before I continue to go till we get to John Brown?
You can continue.
Okay.
Well, first of all, uh, for everyone on the line, we want to make this informal to ask questions, as we move forward. So if anyone has questions at this time, you might want to open it up.
Okay, if anyone has questions over on TikTok, please let me know. If you guys have questions, we can get you questions answered or anyone that's going to come on. We haven't went Facebook Live yet, which I'm sure some people will come on with questions, but TikTok just to let you know. And anyone that may come on to YouTube or StreamYard, you're welcome to ask questions also. Islam. In the year of 1763, when the European conquering settlers from England was gaining the upper hand in the great battles between themselves and the Moors of the north of Northwest Africa, the conquered territories became colonies under the British Empire. This was 11 years before the Moors were conquered, their names, nationality, and birthrights taken from them. A government was set up over the English territories by the King of England, who had complete authority in those days. The governor ran the colonies, collecting taxes from the settlers for the British Empire. Orders were transferred back and forth from England to Northwest Africa by British ships, which carried the king's messengers back and forth. By 1776, after 13 years under British rule, the settlers of Northwest Africa wanted independence from England. These were the poor class settlers who in the old country came from the gallows for crimes committed against the British crown. In England during the period of time, criminals convicted of various crimes, including we're not going to say that, where people are taking advantage of women and unalived had a choice in some cases. They either served their time in the gallows of England or volunteered their services to the crown by going to the British colonies in the New World and helped in its new developments. These were the people who later broke away from England and started the revolution. From their new armies, the self-stylers picked a man to lead them against the British. His name, George Washington. It's long. Moors defeated 2 years before the revolution. The Moors were defeated 2 years before the outbreak of the revolution, before the settlers broke away from the British. The Moors were defeated with the combined forces for British troops and settlers. The war lasted 7 years. Excuse me. The war lasted 7 years with the defeat of England. Independence Day was established on the 4th day of July, 1783. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which became the capital of the new continental United States. General George Washington was elected its first president. He was called by the European settlers the father of our country. The Constitution to run the new government and other famous government documents were drawn up about the time of the new said government's establishment. A promise was made that the defeated Moors would never rise as a nation of people again. Any questions, TikTok? Anyone else? No questions yet? All right, no questions yet, Brother John. Slavery times. The Moors were put into total slavery. They were forced to march from the north to the south on foot while the new slave masters rode on horseback with the whips and guns. The sisters with babies were forced to carry them on sacks on their backs if they were too much in weight. The sisters were made to leave their helpless babies on the country roadsides. Mothers to be were also made to walk, losing their unborn in some cases. The migration of slaves that moved south was so great that the north was left with only a handful of Moors. The Moors were sold on the slave blocks in southern cities. They also were sold on slave blocks in the northern cities and shipped south. The second generation in slavery, both physically and mentally. The slaves of 1779, the first generation, were only slaves physically, bound in chains only. Mentally, they were free.
Sister Latay,
Islam.
could you back up when you said Moors from the north was captured and put on ships and sent to the south? Did you say that?
Yes.
All right. Now, those Moors that arrived here by ship, those ships did not come from across the Atlantic Ocean. They came from the north. So if you put someone on a ship, they had to travel on that Atlantic Ocean, and they're not familiar with the territory, but they take you off at, you have no idea about where you are. You can be told anything. So it is the prophet that's telling the truth, that a lot of us was already here. We were just shipped from one part of Northwest Mexican Africa to another one. So I think that it's important for the mentality of our people to be receptive to the possibilities of the untruths can be debunked by the of the European I started at lies, but it's part of what the prophet said was a European psychology. That's part of psychology. What the prophet said is that the first generation of Moors, they were bound free men. So we'll talk about when they were bound and put on slave markets and shipped to where they was needed. Now, they were conscious and they knew all about their history, who they were, their family. However, they were sold and separated. They could not receive instruction from their family members. They only received instruction information from the slave holders. And the slave holders fortified their their uh, will with their Christian doctrine. Our people were forced to sit and listen to what was taught out of the Bible on Sundays. So this whole European psychology, we have not understood it. The prophet's only one mentioned it, and we need to pay more attention. So again, he said the first generation was bound free men and women. They were not slaves. What made you slaves was that European psychology. So the subsequent generations were slaves because they had been subjugated to the European psychology. Now, that being said, not only are we made slaves here in Northwest Mexico, which we call North America and South America, because that European psychology was used for our brothers across the Atlantic on the eastern part, which is called Africa today. And that psychology is still being promoted today. So that psychology we were talking about Christianity, which was founded by the European nation for their earthly salvation. So no one is talking about this, but the truth is being surfaced. What I mean by that, as the truth surface, then we be able to get better understanding of what took place. But as the truth surfaced, they are trying to cover it up to prevent it from surfacing. The prophet says the cover that they're using to cover up the truth is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. Beginning when they begin to cover the head, the feet will be out. You realize the feet out, you pull the cover down to the feet, the head will be out. And it's going to get shorter and shorter. And this is fulfillment of the prophecy, and this is what we're experiencing now. But the prophet's teaching in this Quran will shine light and give you a better understanding of what's taking place if you study that literature, and it would uncover a lot of what has been covered up by the European psychology. Primarily, the major book of that is what we call the Holy Bible. Now, that being said, either we can entertain questions now or later because we're introducing a different aspect of the story or the history we've been told by our journey. So the prophet's here to shine the light on the truth.
Islam. All right, I'm gonna read some more. Facebook, give me a moment because I might have to come back and forth. So if you can join the StreamYard, just go into the post that I posted that has a StreamYard link, and then you can be in there in that chat asking all the questions. You can even come on stage. So if I have to come off because I'm gonna be reading something, you can come on the StreamYard if you don't want to wait for me to resume back. It's long. All right, Brother John. So, the second generation in slavery, the slaves of 1779, the first generation were only slaves physically, bound in chains only. Mentally, they were free. The Moors knew who they were and where they came from. The oncoming generations were different. At birth, they were taken away from their families and raised by the slave masters in their homes. This act was one of the greatest psychological tricks pulled off by the European settlers. The slave masters taught the second generation what they wanted to. The words Negro, black, colored, and act became a part of the young slaves' hearts and minds. The slaves were taught that their slave masters were white. Definition: white meaning purity, purity meaning God, and God meaning the rulers of the land. These teachings became a part of the lives of the second enslaved Moorish generation. The ideologies of the European teachings grew in the Moors up until the 20th century, which still goes strong. During the early part of slavery, the masters from time to time had rebellion among their slaves. To keep them in line, the Europeans set examples out of some of the slaves, while others were forced to look on in horror. The rebellious slaves were put against the wall. Long nails were drove through their ears, and the slaves were pulled from the wall with their ears still hanging there. Some were even hung from trees. This kind of example kept others in line. Moors suffered final defeat. The last of the Moorish armies left was located in the Midwest. The armies were led by Sheikh T. Kenon Bey. The European armies met Bey and his forces in the Midwest in one of the most bloodiest and longest battles ever fought in America. It became known as the Battle of 1812. T. Kenon Bey and his Moorish armies went down with the Moorish flag in the Great Battle. The Europeans named the area where the battle took place Battle Creek, Michigan. The Moorish flag was never to come up again until 1925, 113 years later, when Prophet Noble Drew Ali came upon the scene. Islam. So I'm going to keep going. Hold on. Let me go. Wait. The Moors in their final days before complete defeat took all their riches, their gold, silver, and etc., put them in the mountains, and the Moorish sheik of sheiks sunk the mountains beneath the earth and never to rise again, while the Europeans were rulers of the so-called New World. As time went on, there have been some gold and silver discovery in the north and southwest, but all the Moorish riches have never been discovered up to the so-called modern times.
If I can speak to that,
Mm-hmm.
In a place called Dumarus, Georgia. It's in the Georgia mountains. It's in the Cherokee territory. So one of the main reasons the European came here was seeking the gold. He knew that gold came from the west. So when they found some nuggets in Dumarus, they said, "Oh, we found it. It's here." However, they didn't have unfettered access to it because the Cherokees were there.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with a scheme to remove the Cherokees from that area so they have access to it. And they used a Cherokee chief called John, what's his name? Anyone know?
No. I don't think no one's on right now.
Well, he was the Cherokee chief was a mixture of European and Indian. So his father was a trader. In other words, he traded with the Cherokees. So trade was a very important part of our development and civilizing and reaching a civil society because the River Nile and the Niger River was dredged by the ancient Moors for trade and transportation with the surrounding kingdom. So trade was very important. So, but in order to trade, you have to get familiar with the language, just
Mm-hmm.
enough so you can do your business. So he learned enough to trade with the Native American Cherokees, and trading with them, he was able to befriend one of the sisters. Now,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a child as a result of that. So that child had Cherokee blood in him. Therefore, later on, he became an adult, and they was trying to select someone who would be a tribal leader. He was selected, And because he was selected there as a tribal leader, he spoke for the tribe on various situations that came up. So he was a spokesman for the tribe when it came up about this peace deal. What I mean by that is that the European had been fighting his various wars with the various Native American tribes. And Native American, the descendants of ancient Moabites and Canaanites, they've always been peaceful people because that's what our religion is. The old time religion is peace, Islam. So for an opportunity to resolve a situation for peace, we take advantage of that. So what occurred was it's the John Roberts. I'm thinking his name, John. His first name, I don't know if Roberts of that chief. I have to look it up again. That they said that out west in the Kansas area, Arkansas, said that area we're not fighting wars out there. In so many words, you can have peace. So we would trade you for peace if you give up this land here and move out there. So this chief agreed. However, it wasn't in the best interest of the people, and they was upset when that European did that. But they had to go along with the decision that was made. So they was relocated from that area of Georgia and that Appalachian Mountains out beyond on the other side on the plains. So they have access to the gold. Now, a lot of our brothers and sisters didn't agree, but they had to go along with it. And it was very much like they said when they moved our people from the north to the south. It was unmerciful. It was painful. It referred to as a trail of tears.
The travel tears, yes.
Right. Now, all the brothers and sisters didn't go along with that. Some of them hid in the mountains. And the Europeans found out later on that some of them have hid there, and they want to know how many was there. So they had census takers to take census to find and count them. And the census takers also could be bribed and were bribed and bribed by $5 to say that they was Cherokee, but they were Europeans. So the Europeans that paid to be counted as Cherokees was referred to as a $5 Cherokee. So there's a lot in reference to our people land in the Tennessee, in that area, Kansas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and that is reference to the land. Now, there was a case in the Supreme Court, went all the way to the Supreme Court, into who was the rightful heirs of that land, millions and millions of acres, and it was won by Native Americans, and that case was won. However, the 5 tribes or the bloodlines that is rightfully heir to the land will be under what they call the 5 Cherokee nations. And one of the Cherokee nations, their name go by the name of Eel. And some go by the name of Bay. So the prophet is giving us the title to our vast estate. That's a title. So that vast estate is ours, but you have to claim it. And you have to be taught, you have to be what I want to say, you were introduced to this European psychology, and that European psychology is what holding us in the condition we are in. So you have to be free from that, and that's what the prophet designed this organization to do, is to free your mind, to free you from that, because in that subjugation of your mind, you are looking at yourself as Negro, Black, color, and
Islam.
disconnect you to the human family. So
Islam.
this is what some of the teachings are reference to. And what we are talking about now is that a lot of brothers and sisters have come to try to join this fight where we can overcome this situation we're in. And we know that the prophet says it only lasted from 1779 until 1865. So
Mm-hmm.
we need a better understanding what was taking place
At
at
that
that
time.
time. Yeah, so it's important to realize that this is a little of what we call the divine teaching. What I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is that we're not talking about just the body, the physical. We're talking about the spirit as well. So man himself is not really the physical, the body. The real man is the spirit.
Islam.
Spirit is the man.
Islam.
So that being said, the spirit can be in, I mean, how to put it this way. A European spirit could be an Asiatic body. An Asiatic spirit could be in a vice versa.
Islam.
So that being said, the prophet used a European. He had an Asiatic spirit to be in a European body to fight a phase of our fight that he was very successful, get us ready for the next phase. And that brother was John Brown.
John Brown.
Now, so
Can I?
that being said, it
Uh,
let us know that European bodies with Asiatic spirits can play a role in our struggle. I had a conversation with a Moor just the other day, and his question was, can a European join the Moorish National Divine movement?
mm-hmm.
And he says, no. And I says, yes. The
Hmm.
prophet said he's the world's greatest diplomat. I just said the man is not, the body is not the man, not the man, the spirit is.
Yes, the spirit is the man. All right, Islam.
So the prophet said you got more European spirits embodied in Asiatic bodies in your community than you do the vice versa. So it's important that we understand this divine part of this movement, understand the contribution that John Brown made toward uh, leading up to the Civil War. And someone
Yes,
said that his action sparked the beginning of the Civil War. And his action
Islam.
was that he wanted to take up arms
Mm-hmm.
against the European plantation owners to
Mm-hmm.
free our brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
However, in doing that, he was not successful. And one of the reasons he was not successful, he couldn't convince a lot of our brothers to be courageous enough to join him.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the brothers that he thought that would be a great help, because a lot of brothers and sisters listened to this brother, and that was Brother Frederick Douglass.
Mm-hmm. So, Brother John, can I read to them a little bit about John Brown so they kind of know who we're talking about? I can give
Yes,
them
please do.
something about John Brown. Okay, so John Brown was an abolitionist leader. John Brown was a radical abolitionist who believed in the use of armed insurrection to overthrow the institution of slavery. He did a raid on Harper's Ferry. It was a Harper's Ferry raid in 1859. Brown led a raid on the Federal Armory at Harper's Ferry, hoping to initiate a slave uprising. Though the raid failed and Brown was captured, it had a profound impact on the national discourse on slavery. Trial and execution. Brown was tried and executed for treason, but he became a martyr for the abolitionist cause, inspiring many others to join the fight against slavery. That's John Brown. John Brown was something else, and him and Abraham Lincoln shared the same fight. Just one came from a more radical side, and one came from a more political side, Islam. So I just wanted to give y'all some information about who John Brown is. And we found out
I just want to add that they have a memorial site. It's come under Parks administration, just like they've done for Dr. Martin Luther King home, and they do tours
mm-hmm,
of that site. And if you're ever in that area, you might want to go and see that. What you're going to find is that uh, they don't see John Brown as a hero or friend of particularly the Southern. Maybe a lot of people saying "Make America Great Again." So they're not going to say a lot good about him, except that there's certain truths they cannot deny. Is that he did seek to take up arms to attack the slave holders at night to free the slaves. And that, as I stated, he tried to enlist Frederick Douglass, but Frederick Douglass was not courageous enough and refused to join him.
mm-hmm. You guys have questions?
However, however, a sister by the name of Harriet Tubman did. So, an example of sisters taking a stand that brothers should take, and they don't. So the prophet says that he would like to use the brothers to solve this problem we are facing. But if he have to use the sisters, so don't be so surprised when you find some of these brothers that you listen to their talk. When it comes time to take a stand, they may not take a stand.
Right. Yeah, we see that. We see, yeah, that's happening. Someone said honors to John Brown, Islam. All right. So, do you want me to give a what their relations to one another was, John Brown and Abraham Lincoln, and then you could go ahead into everything else because we got some people on Facebook, so I won't be able to come out and read.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that era of time,
All right.
because what occurred is that the European was taking more of our land,
Mm-hmm.
and as he took the land, they was going to try to associate it with the Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution said all men are created equal. However, there was a struggle. Some states did honor all men as created equal, and some didn't. Some wanted to treat them as animals, as property, and was treat them as slaves. So as they took more of our territory in the West and add them as states, there was a question of how we should connect them to the Constitution. Should it be as a slave state or a free state? So the struggle took place in the halls of Congress. So it came up with a compromise that we will add. This is the Missouri Territory as they expanded. It says that as we add a state, we will add one as free state and one as slave state. That was a compromise. Now we are we are what's being challenged is the judiciary or the fairness of justice. It said a peace of society depends on justice. So Dred Scott sought to apply appeal to the justice system on his situation, where the question was, could he be free even though he had been in a could he be free even though he had been into a both slave territory and free territory? He's in a free territory longer than he was a slave territory. Now, this struggle of him trying to get his freedom continued after his slaveholders was dead, because property rights is is uh is determined even after you're dead. So that being said, is that when it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, they had a Taney Court, which is similar to what is called a Roberts Court now. They call it a Roberts Court because John Robert is uh, he's the Chief Justice. At that time, Taney was the Chief Justice, and Roberts in his court, most of the justices were put in office by the Republicans. During the time of Dred Scott, most of the 5 of the 9 was put in by Southern uh, governors, had that type of influence. So it's pretty much the same as what's taking place today, except that our people being slave in the mind and under the European psychology are not able to see the 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 relationship between who was on the side of you being continued be treated as property and slavery, and who was on the side of who want abolitions to free you from that. So so we can't see as clear as we should see because of the education and the psychology of the European. However, the prophet is trying to show us the truth about what actually took place. That's why it's incumbent upon us. We have to teach what it says in Acts 6. Teach our people, you're not Negro, you're not colored, you're not black. You're descendants of ancient Moabites who inhabited northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So it says, and we're teaching our people this, but we're not doing a good job because to this day, our people don't know that, don't realize that. They'll still call themselves Negroes, blacks. They're not proclaiming a free national name, be a part of the nations. Now, I don't want to go too fast, but I do need to make a comment about the War of 1812. In his book, the European story, he don't tell it the way it actually took place. The Moors was the ones that they was fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
And the Moors were represented by the flag of the Moors, as the European was represented by the flag of the European, which is American flag. But the flag of the Moors was a red flag with a 5-point green star. But it's a flag that flew over an entire empire with kingdoms under that empire. But the capital kingdom reside right here on this land. So when the Moors were defeated and they could no longer defend the flag was put in a vault. However, it was here first in what would be called the head of the empire, and other nation empire succumbed to European superior power
Mm-hmm.
for 100 years. 100 years later, the last nation of the Moorish Empire was defeated and the flag went down in 1912 in what is called now the Kingdom of Morocco. So from 1912 until the Prophet went and got the flag in 1925, that flag was not flying anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a divine effort, divine power, divine intervention to go and get that. So we get further down in the Biography of the Moors, it's telling you about the prophet going to Washington, D.C. alone, by himself. He got the flag and raised the flag, and we fly that flag. Now, the Kingdom of Morocco, they weren't able to raise that flag until years later, 1956. It's when they got their independence. So the truth or the knowledge of our great leader Prophet Noble Drew Ali is not known among his people,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because those of us who have been awakened have been not successful in waking up the rest of our people to who they are. You're not
And
Negro. Negro
mm-hmm.
is slave. You're not black. Black is slave. You're not color. You're slave. You're descendant of ancient Moabites who
Mm-hmm.
inhabit the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. We'll talk more about the northwestern shores and southwestern shores of Africa, except that if you ask me where I was born, I said I was born in Quincy, Florida, United States of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that again. I was born in Quincy, Florida. And Quincy is in the state of Florida, near the capital, which is Tallahassee. But I didn't say America, I said Africa. I
Africa.
was born in the United States of
It's
Africa.
Africa.
We are in Africa.
Yes, we
It's just
are.
been renamed. It just had a new name for 200 years. But
Mm-hmm.
1,000 years before, it was Africa. Before that, it was a Mexican. It's older than the Atlantic Ocean. So these are truths that is being covered up. And our job is to uncover it. And that
Mm-hmm.
is being done now. The truth is coming out. So, brothers and sisters, we trust that you are waking up enough excited enough to get more of our people aware of who we are so we can take our place in the affairs of men, that we could be in the United Nations among nations, taking our place. So praise Allah, I got excited.
That's all right.
and
Mhm.
there's a lot to be said. So, brother,
It is.
sister Latay, it's back to you.
All right. So, wanting to know, like, what is the when you say wake our people up? How do we? I know you. It says in six to teach them, but how would you say is the best way for us to get out here and really help our people in teaching them? Because we could do online, we could go in person, but what is the best strategy? I mean, we know that this is what our job is, our duty is. But how?
Well, part of it, you got to be
That's wrong.
seeking the truth. You got to be dissatisfied with your condition as being a slave.
Mm-hmm.
You have to come to the conclusion that the European is not God.
Yeah.
Once you understand that, then you look for the real God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the European part of psychology is to get you to see him as God. Whenever you call him white, we shouldn't be calling him, you shouldn't hear anybody referring to Europeans white anymore after the prophet being the number of years he's been here.
Mm-hmm.
He's not white. He's European. White means purity. He's nowhere near purity. Purity means God. God means ruler of the land. It seems as if he's ruling the land, but he's not protecting and saving the land. He's destroying the land. He's not preserving the land. He's not preserving. He's not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're the laws of all the man planes of manifestation, giving us that by the Creator, Allah Himself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not being done. The man who say he's doing it, he's not who say he's God, representative of God. He's not doing that. European not preserving the land. He's not protecting Allah's creatures. He's
Islam.
not doing any of that.
And I need everybody to hear that being said again. The man is not the body nor the soul. He's a spirit and a part of Allah. So the spirit has to be, it has nothing to do a lot of times with this skin complexion, as I said. The spirit, what is that spirit saying? Because we have many of us Asiatic people with European spirits. And you got European people out here with Asiatic spirits.
That's
So
right.
don't get it twisted and get above yourself and think just because you have a certain skin tone that you're the one. No. How's your spirit? How do you show up in the world for real? Islam?
Islam.
Continue, Brother John. You want to continue or want me to read about John Brown and Abraham Lincoln and their interconnectedness?
Yeah, before you talk about Abraham Lincoln, I just want to mention a term I just learned recently within the
Mm-hmm.
last 5 years. There's a term that refers to Abraham Lincoln and his descendant nature is that he is a Melungeon. You ever
Mm-hmm.
heard that term?
Yes. Melungeon, I have.
Oh, all right. So what it basically saying, he got the blood of this land of people may be described in various ways, but however you describe it, it's in him through
It's
his
in
mother.
Islam.
So it's too early for me to talk about certain aspect of the divine, but I'm just gonna say uh, Allah had a son.
Islam.
Some people call him Jesus, but because of the misuse and abusing of that name, we was warned not using it in vain. He went to his father, and his father changed his name. And he's done work in this land here. He's done work on our behalf more than a lot of us realize. Our brother Jesus done a lot of work on our behalf. If he had not done, we'd be taking rough for what we are.
Islam.
The European want to completely deny us, want to wipe us from the face of the earth. That's his desire. That's his wish, and that's what he's. But anyway, the Son of Most High God, Allah is working for us,
Islam. Definitely.
and I won't say more than that. But we in the same organization, the
The same
Moorish
word
National
here.
Divine Movement. You know, we got 18 years of his works and teaching here that is missing from the Holy Bible. We got it here. It
Mm-hmm.
ain't in the Bible, Holy Bible. It's not there. But we have it in our
Mm-hmm.
literature. All right, sis, you can continue.
All right. So I was I kind of just asked AI, Brother John, what was the relation to one another with Abraham Lincoln and John Brown? That was my question to AI because I have a conversation with AI just to see what AI is going to tell me. So it says John Brown and Abraham Lincoln had distinct but interconnected roles in the fight against slavery through their methods and philosophies, though their methods and their philosophies differed significantly. Both Brown and Lincoln firmly oppressed slavery. Their dedication to ending this institution defined their legacy. Their differences, the approach. John Brown believed in direct action and insurrection, as evidenced by his raid on Harper's Ferry in 1859. In contrast, Abraham Lincoln took a political and legal approach, advocating for the containment of slavery through laws and eventually issuing the Emancipation Proclamation. Philosophy. Brown saw slavery as a moral evil that required immediate forceful intervention. Lincoln also acknowledged the moral evil of slavery, but was more pragmatic and cautious, emphasizing political solutions and national unity. Hold on one second. The influence on each other. And public perception. John Brown's raid at Harper's Ferry polarized the nation and increased awareness and agitation over the issue of slavery, indirectly aiding the political environment in which Lincoln later campaigned and led. The symbolism. Brown's martyrdom after his execution in 1859 inspired many abolitionists and heightened the urgency of the anti slave cause, while Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War and his eventual push for the abolition of slavery showcased a different pathway to achieving the same goal. Their combined efforts, though different, contributed significantly to the eventual abolition of slavery in the United States. And if you don't know what abolition means, just so we can know what that means, it refers to an act of formally ending or overturning a system, practice, or institution, most notably the abolition of slavery. In historical context, abolition in the United States led to the end of slavery, culminating in the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 and the 13th Amendment in 1865, which legally abolished slavery. Islam. Brother John, I would love for you to go more into that part of when they added this and what's missing from that 13th Amendment, because I've had some people ask me about that just actually this cycle.
Now, boy, we have a lot to talk about, because when you talk about the amendments, the 12th Amendment was a long time before they went to the 13th. The 12th Amendment dealt with us. Well, a lot of people understand it with nobility. I think it had a lot to do with the titles being continued, the bays, the eels, that because they'll deal with nobility. Now, the 13th Amendment supposed to have restored that. And there was 20 sections of the 13th Amendment. But to get to the 14th Amendment, which they needed to bring the Southerner or the Confederacy, the people who gave up the rights to be citizens, bring them back in. Because I'm not sure what state it was. The first one was Florida, South Carolina. They said, we do not want to be part of the United States of America. They do not want to be part of the Constitution. They give it up. They don't want to be citizens anymore. In fact, we're going to take this country over for ourselves. But they were unsuccessful. When they were unsuccessful, what country are they citizens now? England had kicked them out. You know how Trump said they sent us the worst, the rapists, the all them criminals. That's what England did, sent them here. They didn't want them back. So they worked within the government, though they had influence, to amend the Constitution to bring them back in. If they had not amended the Constitution, 14th and 15th Amendment, they would have been people out of the country. Where were they to go? They descended from England, but them people in Europe, from Europe, the European didn't want them. European let them out. They were the bad people. What you inherit your weaknesses from your loans of thy father and the wounds of thy mother have that inherit weaknesses. So they got rid of them weak people, them bad people. They didn't want them back. So the 14th and 15th Amendment had nothing to do with them doing a favor. What's a favor? What the 13th Amendment, there was things to give us back what was taken from us. Working our land for nothing, working us for nothing. All of that was designed to compensate us for that. That's what the 13th Amendment was for. But those sections that dealt with that, they took it out. The 13th Amendment originally had 20 sections. They took 18 sections out. Something about that and them 18. 18 years life with teacher Jesus, they took it out of the Bible. That dealt with nonsense.
Say that again one more time, Brother John. You said 18 missing years they took out of the Bible for Jesus, and 18 sections they took from the 13th Amendment?
Absolutely.
Islam.
The conspiracy from the time that Jesus was resurrected was the same as the conspiracy it was when Abraham Lincoln gave our freedom back. Remember when Jesus proved that you can resurrect from the dead, they hid that from the people. The brothers that witnessed it, they paid them not to tell the people what occurred. They paid them to tell a lie. So Jesus did not do what he said he was going to do. It says his friends came and stole the body, and we don't know where it is. That's what he told them, guys. But if y'all go out and and read the script, tell the people what I said here. We'll pay y'all.
Mm.
So the people never learned the truth until the prophet brought it to us.
Doesn't this, okay, 1 second, Brother John. Doesn't the 13th Amendment say you're considered a slave if you go to prison? Calls it voluntary servitude? It's a question. Someone else, but Mr. Will Hardy asked that question.
Well, yes, you do lose your constitutional rights when you're a prisoner.
Because you've broken the law, right? Is that why? What makes?
Yeah, you're proving yourself that you are not civil enough to live in a civil society. So they're part of rehabilitation program. You know, after you can prove yourself you're a moral citizen, then you can be given those rights again. The parole system, all that is kind of designed to do that. But for our people in this country here, they want you to continue to sell. They introduce what is called perpetual slavery.
Perpetual slavery.
Negro, black, and color, you answer that, you won't come out of slavery, you're a perpetual slave. You have to honor your ancient father and mother to be free from that. You honor your ancient father and mother by proclaiming your free national name. I am the child of my ancient mother, Hagar Bey, my ancient father, Abraham Hill. I'm their child. I don't deny it. I proclaim it. I'm trying to live according to the instruction they gave me where I have longer life. Honor thy father, thy mother, and they be long upon the earth land, which Lord thy God Allah given thee. When you live Islam, you live longer than when you live in a Christian.
Islam. So I have another question, Brother John. Brother Hardy says, so technically was slavery really abolished?
You are free from slavery when you no longer answer to or respond to the box that they put slaves in. In other words, you answer Negro, black, and color, you are a slave. Because those was given to our people, our slaveholders. You have to stand up and say that you are what the prophets say you are. You're the descendant of ancient Moabites who inhabit the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Now, there's a process that we give the European. It's a remnant of Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So the man he sees you give him back everything that he took from you. Now, when I became a member of the Moorish National Divine Movement, I was told, Brother John, you have to proclaim your free national name. Say, I said, what about this slave name? He said, you keep that for now. And they explained to me why. Why am I keep it from now? He said, that goes back to the man who had you in slavery. He indebted to you. His wealth and properties in his family. Inheritance. You go there and you can get it. I don't have to wonder who can help me enslave. I go by this name here. It's his name, the European name. His brand, he branded me. So these are truths that the prophet's trying to get us to intelligently understand so we can free ourselves. Once we understand that we free ourselves, we'll be free indeed.
Islam.
The Europeans do not belong here. But he's telling our brothers that belong here that they can't be here. Those brothers in Nicaragua, Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil, them brothers and sisters belong here. They should travel from the south to the north before Santa Anna, I think his name was, lost that war with the European, and they divided across the Rio Grande. They said you can't come up above that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
People who belong here, their inheritance, people who come from Europe is telling them where they can't go.
Mm-hmm.
We stand by and like we don't understand, can't do anything right. We helpless. No, we not helpless. We can make the decision to send the European back home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what the prophet says. Take your place in the affairs of men. You go upon the federal nation that was established for that reason. Right now, the test case is the Palestinian and the Israeli,
Mm-hmm.
and they just took it recently to the World Court.
Mm-hmm.
So knowledge and intelligence, the prophet's trying to get us to understand this. We'll be able to free ourselves. We free ourselves in a peaceful manner. The nation of earth going to know how to obtain peace, and we'll be able to tell them how to obtain peace all over the world.
Islam.
The nation of
Islam.
earth in these modern days is seeking peace, but there's but one true and divine way that peace may be attained. That's through love, truth, peace, freedom, and just being taught. Universal in all nations, all land. That's what the prophet's trying to get us to live.
Islam. So I want to give you guys the concept of perpetual slavery. It refers to a system where individuals and their descendants are enslaved for life without the possibility of freedom. This practice was seen in various parts of the world, including ancient civilizations and more recent historical contexts, such as the transatlantic slave trade. Key historical context: ancient civilization. In ancient Egypt, Rome, and Greece, slavery was a common practice, and many enslaved people were trapped in a cycle of servitude that lasted generations, constantly taking on names and labels they give you and you're not. So once that's gone, it stays on the brain, doesn't it, Brother John? It's like we're more mentally enslaved than that actually physically enslaved. Islam.
Right. So what is occurring here
Mm-hmm.
is the European is trying to uh what happened, all this gonna be challenged. There's a process, it's gonna be challenged in the world code.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to understand what is just among men and women. What is approved by Allah, the creator of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're trying to now. As we get closer to Allah and Allah guide us towards righteousness, we're going to bring a solution to the world where there'll be no more war. There will be
Mm-hmm.
peace on earth. So, and that being taught in the National Divine Movement, now, your problem among nations are, are, are resolved among nations on a higher level, higher court.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now, you got the United Nations established during the time of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, a forum for nations to get together and resolve the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within the United Nations, it's set up very much like the the United States. United States government was set up by higher powers. The
Hmm.
prophet told them what to write. When they're in the room writing the Constitution of the United States of America, they was told what to write. You could tell they don't understand it. Did George Washington understood what he was writing? Did Thomas Jefferson understood what he was writing? Benjamin Franklin, all them? The preamble said all men created equal. You ain't got no business endorsing nobody being a human being slave, enslaved as property.
Uh-huh.
No, not in what. So they was told what to write, but Allah knew that they were weak men that they're not gonna carry out. But there are men coming back after them that gonna carry them out, gonna make this the law of the land, gonna bring about peace.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they was too weak. They took the bribe. They own slaves. They own humans as property. And the pillars of the Constitution, that's not what you do. It's all
Uh-huh.
men are created equal. So Abraham Lincoln reminded them. Read his. Maybe we're gonna go through his Gettysburg Address. We're gonna go through that Gettysburg Address for Abraham Lincoln. Reminded what he said. Abraham Lincoln only spoke about 20 minutes. The man spoke 2 hours before him. Loud professor saying nothing. Not saying nothing. And Abraham Lincoln reminded them of the promise made when they first took charge of this nation. Said 10 years. What was years before? We got to read and study that. It said created all man was created equal and endowed by the Creator, certain inalienable rights. So that was told from the get-go, if I use that word. And here it is. How many years later? And you got men that you treating as animals, property. But you have a constitution that says that they're created equal. What's going on here? So, but it's up to us to take a stand. The original man, take a stand. Take your place in the affairs of men. You were Lord. You fell from that lordship. But you got an opportunity to rise, because Jesus, when he went to the city of the sun and saw a mission to the school, them brothers asked him some questions. And every question they asked Jesus, he answered the question with clearness and with power. They asked him, so what you want to come to school for? You answered the question of the gods. And Jesus said, look, my brother, man, everything he go through, I want to know where he goes. I want to know what it's like, so I can support those when he's in need. He said, those who reach the greatest depths should reach the greatest height. Who has reached the greatest depths in this world? The Negro. There's no one that's fallen further than the Negro, the black and the color. No other nation. He's those who reach the greatest depth, reach the greatest height. So Jesus was there to teach you how to do that. And his teaching is in that whole Quran. 18 years of his life working teaching. Knowing that as his teaching here. I could speak some words that he spoke.
Islam.
Not only is his teaching here, I could speak some of the words brother Jesus spoke.
Islam.
To the members of this organization, the Moors National Divine Movement. And no one can dispute it. No one can dispute that mother is great.
Islam.
That's what he said. Mother is great. No one can dispute it. He said, she gave you your body. Said, you take care of it. You get out of this, she'll give you another one. If you don't, she won't. You may have to come back in any animal form.
Islam. Brother John, we have another question, if you don't mind.
Brother go ahead.
Said, can you speak on the Declaration of Independence? Because claiming state citizen, you're considered free. You're a sovereign state. I'm speaking on the state you were born in, opposed to a U.S. citizen. Myself being born in Maryland, my status is an American Marylander. I don't claim U.S.
That's not what we're teaching our people.
Not what we're teaching our people.
No, Act 6 tells us what we're teaching our people.
Yeah. Okay. Act 6. Should I read Act 6 so he can know where we're coming from there?
Yes, read Act 6, please.
Okay, I'm going to read Act 6 of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Salvation, Allah, and Unity. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, color folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live, and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Islam, he said, respect. So, Brother John, do you want to go any further into that? He just said respect after that.
I'm just going to say we invite uh, everyone to attend our meetings. We have something we call the Moorish literature that goes more into this. What Moorish literature is excerpts from a newspaper that was printed by Prophet Noble Drew Ali called the Moorish Guide. He's addressed this number of articles about what we are talking about now. But basically, he says that every citizen of the United States of America has to proclaim their nationality. So they have to be in good standing of the country of their origin. And then they'll be recognized by this government here as being in good standing. And this government will allow them to come in here to be citizens. So he says that in other nationalities, if they're forced to do that, why the descendants of the ancient Moabite and Canaanite are not? Why are you not supposed to proclaim your nationality? One thing it would do, it would remind you of your rights you're entitled to by birth. Now, Act 6, it said you descended of the ancient Moabites who inhabited northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Maybe we need to talk about what is the northwestern shores of Africa and what is the southwestern shores of Africa.
Mm-hmm. Islam. Let's
The
talk about
western
them.
part, pardon me, go ahead.
So yes, let's talk about that. What is the Northwestern? Would he consider the United States federal government the oppressor? That was another question that Brother Hardy asked.
Well, he asked him about the said government.
Okay, you're asking about the said government.
Right. He asked him about the said government.
All right.
Now, we don't speak right against the said government. We're told how to behave in the said government, and we told to obey the laws of the said government.
Islam.
But while we have Wednesday's session, rap session, they go more into that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, even when we read our laws, if you read the Divine Constitution bylaws, it tells us how we're to behave in the said government.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even try to overthrow it.
No.
We obey. We obey the said government. Said government is wrong in a lot of cases, but we follow the prophet. The prophet solved those problems.
Mm-hmm. Brother John, can you answer this? Because I know you'll be. Nationality links one to a specific country. That's what he asked.
Yeah, so nation.
Yes, your nation.
Yeah. Now, the Moors had nation within their empire. So we are uh, blessed enough to be connected to the founders of civilization, civilized other nations. So with that that connection, it raises us to the status we were when other governments looked up to us and patterned their way of life after ours.
Islam.
So, but brother Jesus said he's going to restore us to that again. We was made the Lord of all the planes to manifest by the Creator Allah Himself, but we failed. We gave up our birthrights just to gratify our loose desires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are teachings that we teach by degrees, but we gotta free ourselves from the charm of the European psychology, because European psychology turned a lot of this upside down. The
Mm-hmm.
things you think ain't is, and things
Totally
you think
reverse.
is ain't. So
Islam.
European psychology turned everything around.
Islam. Islam. Definitely. As you're talking about that, Brother John, would you mind? Would you? Yes, he does. He does. The etymology, all of that. Yes, if you honestly, if you're able to attend any meetings, they go in a lot deeper than that. This is just to give like some information out. You know, you have to really study these lessons for them to unfold. It's not just because it seems to be this thin pamphlet that that's all you're doing, but you have to go into that yourself. We are taught that way. This is one of my amazing teachers, and we're always taught to look up the word, find out where that root comes from, so that you're just not surface level researching or studying, that you're going deeper. We even have a chapter on it that talks about the tiller of the soil, and when he sees the miner not going deep enough, we have to learn how to go deeper and not just surface level everything because it sounds good. We got to dig into it. So, Islam.
Sister Latay,
Yes.
Sister Latay, at some point we're gonna go further into what we have our Moorish literature. For example, I'm looking at now, Moorish leader
Okay.
historical message to America.
All right.
That article answers a lot of questions that people have in their mind. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we can't go into all of that today, but if you think it will benefit, we can read that. How much? It's several pages of information, but it has real truths in there.
Okay. All right.
Would you like to read that?
I can. I don't have a problem reading it at all.
Yeah, let's
So
see
there's
what question comes after you read it.
okay. I know the lessons are esoteric. All right. So I'm going to read the Moorish leader's historical message to America. If anyone has any questions while I'm reading, just you can put in the chat. I'm paying attention so I can see. Islam, Moorish leaders' historical message to America. This is going to give you some answers to probably some of your questions. In connection with the aims, objects, rules, and regulations of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, I deem it proper to submit you a brief statement of our organization covering its inception, rise, and progress, and of the Mohammedan religion, which I hope will be satisfactory to you and be the means of causing you at all times to adhere to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in your relations with mankind in general. I further most anxiously hope this brief statement will help you to more clearly see the duty and wisdom of at all times upholding those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization of our posterity, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. We organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year of 1925 and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29, 1926. The name Moorish Temple of Science was changed to the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, May of 1928, in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of the State of Illinois. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. A national organization with a Rotarian complexion as it relates to branch temples became obvious with the increasing number of inquiries from men and women in different sections of the country concerning the purpose of the organization. There are branch temples in 15 different states at this time. Since the work of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science was largely religious, the organization has been legally changed to a religious corporation, and an affidavit to this effect has been properly filed in the Cooks County Recorder's Office in Illinois. Inspired by the lofty teachings of the Quran, we have it as the revealed word of God Allah. We shall foster the principles of his teachings among our members. This is our religious privilege as American citizens under the laws of one of the greatest documents of all time, the American Constitution. The religion of Islam is the least appreciated and probably the most misunderstood of the world's great religions. This is especially true in our Western world. Try to understand what Islamism stands for and some of the things it has contributed to the world. Muhammad was the founder of the uniting of the Islam religion. It originated 13 centuries ago on Arabian Peninsula, where the streams of commerce and culture met and mingled in the Middle Ages, where the marks of exchange were stationed for treasures of India and the products of the Mediterranean coast. There, this religion was established in the unprecedented short period of 20 years, and unlike many other religions, without the aid of any royal patronage and support. Buddhism had its Ashoka. Judaism is Joshua. Christianity is Constantine. But Mohammedanism had no person of royal rank and power to assist in its establishment and spread. Today, this religion is acknowledged by nearly 250 million souls and extends over an area equal to 1/3 of the globe. From Arabia, it spread eastward over Persia, Turkestan, Afghanistan, westward across Syria, Asia Minor, Turkey, southward to Africa, covering more than half of that continent. It found its way to India and beyond the islands of Sumatra, Java, and Borneo. To the early representatives of this faith, the world's debt is incalculably great, for it was they who transmitted the treasures of Greek literature from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. They who originated the graceful forms of which the Taj Mahal and the Alhambra are the most famous examples. It was they who contributed to the sciences of algebra and chemistry, astronomy, and medicine. They who dotted the Saracen Empire with universities and who built at Baghdad and Cairo, the most renowned universities of the world. During those centuries of ecclesiastical despotism, when the Christian church suppressed all intellectual activities, save those that were theological, causing the talent that reproduces to supplant the genius that creates. Mohammedans did all in their power to encourage and stimulate research in every branch of human inquiry. The Moors of the Mohammedans added to the beauty and grandeur of Spain. For centuries, art, science, literature, and chivalry flourished among them. While the rest of Europe was still sunk in the gloom of the Dark Ages, the Moors were the most ingenious and industrious of the subjects of Spain. Their expulsion from Spain in 1610 was one of the chief causes of decadence of that country, for both agriculture and industry fell into decay after their departure. Islamism makes no distinction between high and low, rich and poor. It is like the sky, it has room for all. The Quran should be of interest to all readers. It is the Bible of the Muslims, ruling over the customs and actions of over 600 million of people. It is a work of importance, whether considered from a religious, philosophical, or literary viewpoint. In the promotion of plans for the betterment of mankind, there has ever been some kind of opposition. And strange as it may seem, such opposition has come from sources where there were no ideas or the lack of courage to force attention to ideas. Whether in church, state, or the social community, any attempt to do anything out of the usual way seldom fails to receive criticism. Not because the course cannot be pursued legally or that it is unreasonable, but because it has been considered in terms as new. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science has received some opposition and criticism. In the main, the opposition has come from certain Christian ministers. They have expressed themselves as being opposed to our propagation of the religion of Islam, possibly because the promotion of the Mohammedan faith among our people in the United States is considered by them in terms as something new. Whatever the reason may be for their opposition, the legal right to oppose citizens, individuals, and organizations alike for their religious belief does not exist in the United States. The door of religious freedom made by the American Constitution swings open to all, and people may enter through it and worship as they desire. Without religious freedom, no search for truth would be possible. Without religious freedom, no discovery of truth would be useful. Without religious freedom, religious progress would be checked, and we would no longer march forward toward the nobler life which the future holds for the races of men. Without religious freedom, there would be no inspiration to lift our heads and gaze with fearlessness into the vast beyond, seeking a hope eternal. It is a sad weakness in us, after all, to oppose our fellow men for their religious beliefs. And if there are angels who record the sorrows of men as well as their sins, they certainly know how many and deep are the useless sorrows that spring forth from such opposition. Possibly, love and time will cancel our ancient hatreds in this regard and prove that in mankind, tolerance is better than unwarranted opposition. In connection with our religious aims and beliefs, we must promote economic security. The preaching of economic security among us is by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. No other one thing is more needed among us at this time than greater economic power, better positions for our men and women, more business employment for our boys and girls, and bigger incomes will follow our economic security. We shall be secure in nothing until we have economic power. A beggar people, a beggar people cannot develop the highest in them, nor can they attain to a genuine enjoyment of the spiritualities of life. Our men, women, and children should be taught to believe in the capacities of our group to succeed in business, in spite of the trials and failures of some of them. Trials and failures in business are by no means confined to any particular group of people. Some business ventures of all people fail. We have many men and women among our people who are qualified, both by training and experience, who are shining lights in the business world of all the people. It is a sad weakness in us as a people that we have withheld the very encouragement, support, and patronage that would have made some of our worthy business ventures a grand success. And worst of all, have joined in the condemnations of them when they failed. Except in cases of actual dishonesty, discourtesy, lack of service, and actual unreliability. Our business enterprises in every field of endeavor should have fullest of confidence, cooperation, and patronage, whenever and wherever they can be given. Read carefully the doctrines of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. It contains our hopes, aims, rules, and articles of religion. Every member should have a copy. In conclusion, I urge you to remember there is work enough for all to do in helping to build a better world. The problems of life are largely social and economic. In a profound sense, they are moral and spiritual. Have a lofty conception of our duties to our country and fellow man in general, and especially those with whom you deal. This includes such honesty and righteousness as will cause you to put yourself in other fellows' place. Look for the best in others and give them the best that is in you. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Brighten the hopes of our youth in order that their courage be increased to dare and do wondrous things. Adhere at all times to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am your affectionate leader. I shall continue to labor day and night, both in public and private, for your good, thereby contributing to the welfare of our country and its people as a whole. Noble Drew Ali. Islam If anyone has any
Islam.
questions, let me know. Islam. Go ahead, Brother John. No question. You want to say anything on it? No questions have come up yet.
No question came up?
Not yet. Mm-mm.
Oh, all right. In another article in the Moorish literature, the prophet speaks in terms of the Constitution of the United States of America being one of the greatest documents of all times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what attract a lot of people to this country here. The freedoms that are guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America. However, it has not fulfilled its promises yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that if it don't fulfill its promises and live according to it, there are disasters to occur. Earthquakes, just like you see the severe weather and all things are taking place now. That is because the Creator is not pleased with what man is doing here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
But the Constitution of the United States of America provide you to excel and bring the best out of everyone. And uh, until that is done, we're going to get more of what, like Katrina, to an extent, for example, that was a wake up call.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But did the people change toward each other? Did they do better? Did they treat
No.
their neighbor better? Or there's less homeless people? Or any
Nope.
of this? And then there have been others after that, and there's going to be more to come until we finally get it that we have to make some fundamental changes.
Islam.
But first of all, best of all, got to learn how to love instead of
Yeah.
hate.
Allah the love instead of hate. Islam, Brother John. He said, "Is America the country he speaks of?"
What was the question again?
He said, "Is America the country you speak of?"
Is America a country I speak of?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said the Constitution, we speak in particular of the United States of America,
Islam.
that Constitution. But what a lot of other countries have patterned their Constitution after the Constitution of the United States of America.
Yes. All right. And he explained the name of America before. You know America before it was America. He explained you was explaining that earlier, Brother John. The breakdown of this being Northwest Africa. So I'm from the United States of Africa, opposed to America. If you don't, that's not. But this is Northwest Africa. We're still on Africa.
Well, let's go to the name when before the Atlantic Ocean.
All right. You
It was
ready?
one land.
Islam.
So Atlantic Ocean divided the land.
Uh huh.
So the name before before it divided was Africa.
Islam.
The name before that was a Mexium. So when the Atlantic Ocean came about by a number of events, earthquakes and floods, it divided. So you had land on the eastern side and on the western side. So the name was the same. It just was one was west and one was east. So Africa, you had the western part that was west, but then also there was a north and south on the west. So now, what about the rivers? There
Islam. Uh
was rivers dredged before that.
huh.
There was the River Nile and the Niger River.
Islam.
So you talk about what took place on the banks of the Nile River. Well, did that continue after the earthquakes and floods? What was the way that the river flow after that? Now, speaking of rivers, we name people at the land which they come from. Now, Negro is not a land. So, like China's a land. People come from China, Chinese.
Uh huh.
People come from Brazil, the Brazilian. People come from Germany, German, Russia, so forth and so on. But there's no land named Negro. However, there's a river
What river?
named Negro. So, and that river is in Africa. It's in Africa. So we asked brothers and sisters, says, now go into your maps and search and tell me what country you're gonna find this river, the Negro River. And they go and search in all of what is known in Africa today. They can't find it. So we tell them they found a Niger River. We say, no, that's not it. So now come on back across the Atlantic Ocean to the west and search through those countries. And guess what? They found out a river named Negro runs through several countries here in what is called South America today. So Negro is named given the river, and we did not come from no river. We are from a land.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't be Negroes. Black, according to science, means death. And we're very much alive. Color
Mm-hmm.
means anything that's been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. And speaking of what they speak to reference, they're talking about the reference of our skin. Uh, it's not a color.
That's right.
It's a hue.
It's a hue. It's long.
It's not a color. It's a hue. And all humans have a hue, as one brother said. If you don't have a hue, we question whether you're human or not.
Mm-hmm.
So we watch your action. You ain't acting, you ain't got no hue. You ain't acting like no human. What are you?
It's long.
Yeah, so we're not colored. We have a hue.
Mm-hmm.
It's very beautiful, the hue, how it reflects and relates to light. And
Mm-hmm.
it's very ways that we translate the human eye as colors.
Mm-hmm.
We got that. The
Mm-hmm.
European pale, he doesn't have that. All humans have hue. So when you think about it, you say, well, his action is kind of like it's missing some human qualities. Like,
Uh-huh.
so praise Allah for the
Thank
prophet
you all.
that tells us teach us simple truths.
Uh-huh. He says, now he asked, and I know I can answer this, but is America a continent or a country? Should I read chapter 47 for him?
Yes, please.
All right, Brother Will Hardy, I'm going to read chapter 47 from the Divine Instructions from the Holy Prophet. Chapter 47, Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the River Nile westward across the great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the holy land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without a doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all temples of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. They will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before the great and lawful day, which is sure to come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. This is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America, who were of Moorish descent because they honored not the principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing of. Islam?
Islam.
Islam. He asked one more question, Brother John. He said, oh, Ethiopia means burnt face from what I studied. Would you like to break that down, Brother John? Why it's Ethiopia and why it's the division, it's a demarcation line that divides.
Well, the country that called Ethiopia was called Abyssinia before. And the king of Abyssinia was King Menelik. And they had a confrontation with the European. And they actually won the confrontation. But a European leader, general military leader, asked Menelik would he hear his son. And this European leader son was very versed in Christianity. So in the conversation, he convinced King Menelik that Christianity was better for his people than Islam, which they was practicing. And he took it to the people. And only half of the people accepted Christianity. The other half didn't. So he declared that this is hereby Ethiopia. It was divided at that point in time.
That's fine.
So if you talk to brothers and sisters from that land today, and they may not tell you, but if you mention it, they'll say you correct that Ethiopia is a new name. The old name is Abyssinia.
Islam. Did you hear that, Brother Will? Abyssinian is the that was the true name. So even I have a few people, a few friends that lived in Ethiopia, and they say like that's the truth. Half of that country still practices Islam, and I forgot the part of it that is, but that part of
Somalia,
yeah,
Eritrea, and Ethiopia. Yeah,
But
so the Somalian they practice Islam. The Ethiopian practice Christianity. It's a different brand of Christianity, but yet it's Christianity.
Islam. All right, that's what he said. I guess. Did you have any other questions, Brother Will? After that. Anyone on TikTok have any questions? Okay. All hearts and minds are clear, I guess. Brother John, would you like to say anything else before we close out, to leave us with something else so we could come back with some more amazing build on the biography of the Moors?
I would like to say to our brothers and sisters, don't be disturbed about repealing the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
The 14th Amendment has nothing to do, in other words, the reason that the the government passed what is called the Civil Rights Bill is to give you privileges of citizens because the government had not given you your rights as citizen because you were still referring to yourself as slaves. So it was a prophet that came and told you how to get your first class citizen, proclaim your free national name. So when he says on our national card we are citizens, he's talking about first class citizens. You can go to polls and vote, and you will not be denied your right to vote. In fact, during the time of Jim Jim Crow, segregation, and other eras of time, there were Asiatics, there were our people that had the olive hue, were voting, were
Mm-hmm.
exercising rights as first class citizens, but they were not designated, they were not proclaimed to be Negro, black, or color. That confused a lot of us. Say, he looked just like us. He can go in that place that says white only. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't, why can't he go in there? It was not, had nothing to do with it had more to do with his status than his tone of his skin.
Mm-hmm.
So the prophet talks about that too. He traveled the South and he told us why we receive the abuses that we receive. It's the way we live. Don't
Mm-hmm.
see a more action behavior is different from a black man or color.
Mm-hmm.
It's your actions, the life that you live, the way you live your life that brings about all these abuses that so the prophet is teaching us how to live as Moors,
Okay.
not as Negroes, not as black. He's teaching you to do something that Nicodemus tried to figure out. When Jesus spoke to Nicodemus, said, "You must be born again." And Nicodemus said, "You mean I got to enter my mother's womb again?" I was reborn again in the spring of 1978. I received a free national name. I became a man. I became a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
I began to go on the road because I had to take on teachings that will transform my life, where I no longer live like the black man does or the colored man does. I live as a Moor.
Mm-hmm.
Moors are men, upright, fearless, care for their loved ones, and follow their leaders to a destiny not unknown, uncertain.
Islam.
So praise Allah, the prophets trying to get us to understand how to be men.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's in our whole Quran.
Oh, it is. It
Chapter
definitely
20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I can talk more about that later as well.
is Islam.
But that's that we won't go that today.
Islam. Okay, so you're asking, Brother Will, so when we speak of Islam, are we referring to submission or peace? I mean, peace. Submit to peace. I mean, if that's what you want, you're submitting to peace. Islam simply means peace. That's what it means. Like, there's nothing else that you could, put with it. It means peace. We study the religion of peace. Why we call it Islamism? Because we are applying our customs and we're applying it to us, applying it to our lives, like living it. Not just saying, oh, Islam, we must be living it too. So in saying Islamism is our religion, because we should be applying all these lessons to our life to help us to show up to be better citizens. It builds character. This is a character building movement organization. But you got to be ready to deal with yourself. You got to be ready to know thyself, know your higher self and your lower self. Like, so that's what we're taught over here. And it has done, I'm gonna tell you, for me, it has like helped me in so many ways, even down to the parts of me I may not like so much. But it's helped me to recognize them and work on them. So if nothing else, yeah, it's submission to your peace within yourself. Islam. Brother John, would you like to add to that? So when he says when you speak of Islam, you referring to submission or peace,
Well,
you could give them more before we
um,
close.
well, Islam is a little, our religion a little different from Christianity. Christianity, you don't have to live it. The priest will forgive you
Mm-hmm.
for your wrong doings. No, you got to correct your own sins. You got to pay for your own sins. So that's our practice. Is a practice. We live love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We are following a God of mercy. You know, he is a merciful God. So as long as we're trying to overcome those things that we are having a problem with, because he knows they're strong.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said, "But many times I'm bound down to this carnal life, have the overstrength to overcome. It's strong, and you have to fight to overcome it. But Allah will give you uh, ways of and instructions and help overcome them. But you got to be striving to overcome them. No, you have to correct your own sins."
Islam. He said respect, much gratitude, salam. Islam. Praise Allah. Brother William Bolton Bay. Islam. Definitely, Brother John. This was a great build. I would love for you to come back and build some more in a couple of Saturdays, a couple of cycles, if you don't mind, to come back and teach us some more on the biography of the Moors to help to get us where we need to be in the affairs of man. And the affairs of man ain't just sitting around on these screens. And the affairs of man is really getting out here and getting to work, like running for city council, run for these things that you need to stand there and be in the affairs so that we're able to help make law and enforce laws with the assistance
Praise
of the
Allah.
Prophet. Islam?
Islam.
Yes. All right. So, all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Can we all stand as we recite our Moorish American prayer? We're going to turn to the east as going within. We put up 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left, with our heels touching one another. Repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam. Islam, Brother John. I am so grateful that you came on and you taught us and you built with us. Islam, everyone saying Islam, much gratitude. When can we come back and do this again?
Well, I'm free every Saturday. You do this every Saturday?
If you're available, I'm gonna do it every Saturday. If you're available, yes.
Oh, all right. I am the Biography of the Moors. I just figured that there was so much in there that we can use to. My concern is that we are not doing a good enough job at teaching our people what Act 6 required us to teach.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I want to use a hammer with that, and I guess ideas come to me. And the first idea came to me was in reference to Dred Scott, and there's a lot more we could say about Dred Scott. And then what came after that was what we talked about tonight was
John Brown.
John Brown.
John Brown. Mm-hmm. All
Yeah,
right.
but there's a lot more we can talk about because there's a lot of a lot of people that was in this struggle. Uh, moving forward, I think a lot about President Roosevelt and his wife Eleanor Roosevelt and the work that she did, and that the work that was done has been tried to be undone by Republicans ever since he did. That who brought about Social Security. They try to undo all his programs,
Hmm.
but open up a better way for the Asiatics.
Mm-hmm.
The DEI, and all those type programs that the our brothers and sisters was able to make progress. They're trying to roll all that back, but we have to be more concerned about the halls of government and not sit by and let somebody else make these laws for us.
Yes.
We got to be more active in this. We're citizens. You got to play the role of a citizen. So yeah, that's some of the things I think we got to get across our people, because this last election, our people in the '60s, they felt the wrath of what it was like that was saying the government. So they fought more. But now this present government, the present uh, citizen, Asiats, they don't see a need to try to steer the boat. They just want to ride and wherever it go. It's they're not concerned. So yeah, I think we need to be more concerned about that we're part of this government. So yeah,
Yes, I think that's what will help us once we're understanding that. We don't
right.
understand it. John, most people never even touched politics until this last election. I've been into politics since I was a child because in Colorado, that is putting you from elementary school. We're like third grade doing mock trials. We're third grade running for student council. Like all this comes from elementary all the way through high school. So
Wow.
the politic thing has always been a thing where I came from. So I did not know how not to be involved, how not to know what's going on, how not to know what laws are being passed. So when I hear my people say, "Oh, I ain't into politics," that's the most ignorant thing you could say, because then you're not fighting for your rights. You could care less what they do with your rights, your privileges, or anything when you make a statement like that. I think it's a very ignorant statement for our people to make, and then they
Absolutely,
just
prophet.
became involved. And it's like,
That's
nah, so how do you expect to be in the affairs of men if you're not even involved in knowing what's going on now? What are you going to become
exactly.
involved because there's a paycheck involved? Then you're just doing what everyone else is doing. And as we see this now, everything's falling apart because of the simple fact no one has really been standing in the gaps in the way they're supposed to. He said, one last question. Would you consider the Moorish Science Temple of America a government within itself?
Yes,
Yes.
we have everything a government has. We have a constitution. We have a flag. We have land. We have everything. We just have to. It's more dominant, and we have to make it active.
Yes.
We
We
got to
have
take our place in the affairs of men. We haven't
to.
done that.
And we need to come together to do that. Like people think they can do this on their own. Like I'm one
No,
person, I can do this. No,
no, no. You can't.
we can't. We must move as a nation. A nation. If you want to go, what does it say? If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. That's fact.
Wow. Praise Allah.
So this is what we got to do, right? We go together. We don't go one. No, we go together. So that's
Right.
important.
Now, the way I see it is that some of us are further along the way than others. So
Mhm.
the prophet said this is a national divine movement. The national part is much easier to get than the divine. So, but if we get people to get a good understanding of the national, maybe it's easier for us to take them to the divine. But try to
Islam.
take them to the divine without the understanding national, it might be a little more difficult.
Islam. All right. So we're gonna take y'all to the national so y'all can, because this divine part is very important. Marcus Garvey said it best. The biggest problem with the Negro is disorganization. Islam, thank you.
I,
That
I
is,
want to ask a question.
yes.
What country was not overtaken by the European. What country, what Asiatic country was not overtaken by the European?
What
Which one
Asiatic
he did not colonize? What country he did not colonize?
What country did the European not colonialize? Does anyone know? Is there one country he did not colonialize?
In the Quran, on the inside, there's a picture of a brother there.
Uh-huh.
You know who that brother is?
The Sultan?
Yeah.
Yes.
European didn't colonize the Arabia.
Hmm.
He tried to invade it, but that brother stopped the invasion with divine power. The question, ask Google, is that brother a giant?
Is he a giant?
Yeah.
Is Sultan Abdul Aziz Ibn Saud a giant? Now let's see what it says. Haiti. He says Haiti.
Huh?
He said Haiti.
Did you ask? What did you ask him? Did the Abin Saud, was he a giant?
Oh yes, no. This guy said Haiti. Yes. Oh, the MSTA is a government within itself. Yes, that's why we have a constitution. We have everything that sets up a government, land, everything. Yes, it is. His phone froze. That's why he asked. But another brother said Haiti was the only country that was not colonized or taken over. That's what
Haiti
he
was
said.
taken over by the French.
It was taken over by the French. It was.
Yeah, they got it back, but they the first one to get their freedom back. But Saudi Arabia was never colonized by the European.
Islam. So it says. Now it does. It says, because this is Google, so you know it's gonna say its thing because it don't want to say it until you make it say it. You can make this thing say it. Sultan Abdul Aziz Ibn Saud, commonly known as Ibn Saud, was the founder of the first king of Saudi Arabia. He was not literally a giant, but he was certainly a towering figure in terms of his influence and legacy. That is funny. Ibn Saud united the various tribes and regions of the Arabian Peninsula, establishing the modern state of Saudi Arabia in 1932. As a political and military leader, he played a crucial role in shaping the country's future and laying the foundations of its rule by the House of Saud.
Ask another question. Were they ever colonized? Who were they colonized by?
Okay. Colonialized. It does not. I guess not, because it's just giving me right back what it said. His pivotal role in the foundation. So I guess it wasn't because it Islam. No.
Yeah.
Obviously not, because it doesn't. It's just telling you everything he did again.
Yeah. They tried. They were not successful.
His rim was never formally colonized by European powers. It was never.
That's what they said.
It says, okay, it says Sultan Abdul Aziz Ibn Saud, also known as Ibn Saud, played a pivotal role in the foundation of Saudi Arabia. His realm was never formally colonized by European powers.
And that's something they colonized all other areas, including China, big as they are.
Oh, because he was a giant then. He was a giant. His power was like a giant. It said that. He was not
so Allah worked through him. Allah, that's the holy city of Mecca is there.
The holy
Who's protecting the holy city of Mecca today to keep unbelievers away?
The angels.
Yeah. He's an angel.
MECCA. Islam got y'all hear that?
So a lot of people don't see the significance. But Prophet Noble Ali put him in our Holy Quran.
He sure did, right there in the front, right after his picture.
Yeah, and then when you look at his head's over his heart, but you flip the page over, it's over that brother's mouth.
Oh, all right, Islam.
He speaks with Prophet Noble Ali permission.
Islam. Oh, Islam. Islam. All right,
So
Islam.
he took Prophet Noble Ali took the Quran to him. He examined it. He said this Quran is too high for the most highest Mohammedan official. And he sent the Quran down these Islamic countries, and Jordan rejected it. He sent some troops down there. After he finished, they accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
This Quran, those brothers, they know about this Quran, but it's too high for the average Muslim.
Mm.
This Quran is high. There's some high science in this Quran, sister.
Mm-hmm.
High science.
Mm. Mm.
It
Wow.
tells you about resurrection. He tells you how. Sister, I'm gonna say this before I leave.
Islam.
Jesus, the Nazareth, got his body from Mary and Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
So it had weaknesses. Well, Mary weakness and Joseph had it was in there, right?
Islam.
Well, when they punched, they crucified him, stuck a pierced his heart and his side, put him in the tomb. Well, the spirits that put man together in the beginning out of dust of earth, they went to work. They disintegrated that body first. But when they put it back together, they put it back out of substance like they did the first body. It's a pure body. It's in read that chapter 17, 18, it tells you that.
Islam.
Just as they formed the world in the beginning, they breathe. It tells you, yeah, it's there. But you gotta it revealed to you in the degrees. It's there. It's high science in this Quran.
Islam. High science, y'all. High science. Brother Will Hardy said esoteric. Most definitely very Islam. It's very Islam. That's why I say it looks like you could just breeze through it. But man, no. Like he said, it's high science. So high science ain't nothing that you could just take and say, oh, because I've been studying it for 10 years, I got it. Brother John, tell them what the prophet said about 50 years before you'll know. 50 years before you know what I left you, and 50 years before you learn it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, but you gotta be studying it. I mean, if you ain't studying, it's gonna take you more than that.
Take you more than that. It's long.
You just can't put it on the shelf. It's like
Yeah.
you'll get it.
You can't. You can't just put
Yeah.
it on the shelf. It's long, Brother John. Yes. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. So we're going to come back next Saturday at the same time, you guys, to come back with more about the biography of the Moors so we could get our minds together. So we are standing in the affairs of man, especially with what's coming, what's going on. Things are being laid out for us if we pay attention. Don't be paying attention just because your emotions are all over the place about what's going on. But get in position to stand in the affairs of man and stop. You can't be worried about that. Let's do our part of what we need to do because the problem's our problem. We got to stop looking at other people to solve the problem that we need to solve for ourselves as a nation of people. Islam, self mastery is an infinite thing, yes, but the infinite, first you got to have some finite understanding before you can get to the infinite. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. So yes,
All
so
right,
we'll
sister, I'm gonna say peace to everyone
some love, peace.
until next week.
Until next cycle, peace and love, Brother John.
Peace and love.
I'll send you the recording.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. All right.